everyone, welcome back to the Coop with Meyer Hatchery, where we talk all things poultry in hopes of educating crazy chicken keepers and inspiring future flock owners. I'm Kendra.
And I'm Jeff, and today taking a look at incubation as part of our A Year with Chickens series.
We dedicate one episode per month to this series, covering what to expect when raising a chicken in that particular month. For the month of March, we're going to dive into hatching eggs for the very first time, including Incubator Setup, how to determine what's critical during the hatching process, and how to prepare for a successful hatch. Personally, I have a love-hate relationship with hatching. Jeff, have you hatched eggs before?
I have. We started right near the beginning of when we got chickens. My wife decided, let's try the eggs. And so we got your basic white styrofoam incubator, cheapest I could find. We did it, and we realized right away those little turners are worth every penny to get those. So what I did as a good husband, because my wife was getting tired of turning those eggs all the time, I went and bought a new incubator with the turners. Made all the difference in how we did the incubation. It was a lot less work. After we did that for a while, we got another one because my wife wanted duck eggs. After that, we decided to go into a cabinet. And that is a whole different ballgame. And the incubation process is so much easier, and the rate in which you hatch is so much better. So, yeah, I got a little experience with incubators.
Just a little.
So tell us, Kendra, why do you hate hatching?
It's the anticipation that kills me. Hatching truly is a hurry up and wait activity. And then once they do hatch, it's not like you wake up Christmas morning to an incubator full of chicks. Watching them hatch out of the egg is like watching water boil. The more you watch, the longer it takes to happen. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to stop me from hatching again this year, but be warned, it's a test of patience. And now it's time for your Poultry Pick of the Week. Jeff, what did you pick this week?
New this year, Meyer Hatchery is offering the olive egger breed as fertile hatching eggs. If you're looking for a new colorful layer, this is your breed, laying various shades of olive-colored eggs. Not only will you enjoy their egg color, but as a hybrid breed, you'll be delighted with their feather pattern as well. Laying an average of 200 eggs annually, consider adding this calm, colorful breed to your flock today.
We all understand the excitement of getting a fresh batch of hatching eggs, whether you're purchasing them from a hatchery like us or using the fertile eggs from your own backyard. Now, before we begin, everyone's hatching methods are different, and honestly, it's a little bit overwhelming to digest as a beginner. It can be hard to tell what information is crucial and what information is opinion-based, which I think can intimidate a lot of people. Don't you think?
When you're first starting out, it can be so overwhelming. I totally agree. But it's like having chicks. Just do it and it'll all work out. So let's start with the foundation, an incubator. There are a lot of options out there, but in its most simple form, it needs a heat source, typically controlled by a thermostat and a way to add humidity. Other features that can help increase your hatch rate is a fan to circulate air, an automatic egg turner, and a digital display.
I hatched eggs for the first time last year, and after reading several articles and watching many videos, we made the leap and purchased our first incubator. There are a lot of great options out there, along with a lot of technical terms. To keep it short and sweet, we personally decided to go with our incubator as it was digital, came with an automatic egg turner, allowed water chambers to be filled from the outside, and can accommodate a variety of poultry types for our growing homestead. So what does that mean exactly? Well, having a digital incubator means that it has a digital interface where you can program your incubation period and monitor the temperature and humidity. Keeping constant temperature and humidity results in a more successful hatch. An automatic egg turner is a lifesaver. If you don't have a turner, you will have to rotate your eggs a minimum of 3 times. If you can turn them 5 times a day, it's even better. If you do have to rotate manually, you want to ensure your hands are clean and that you do so carefully, yet in a timely manner. You don't want any oils or germs to transfer to the eggs, and since the top of the incubator is removed to rotate them, The longer it's open, the more time your temperature and humidity have to fluctuate.
Now, the reason you turn eggs is to prevent the developing chick from sticking to the shell. It allows the embryo to rest on top of the yolk. You also want to take extra precaution when turning the eggs the first week of incubation. The developing embryos have delicate blood vessels that can rupture easily. For chicken eggs, you'll want to turn them 3 to 5 times a day for the first 18 days they are in the incubator.
If you have an automatic turner for your incubator, you don't have to worry about any of the above. It regularly turns the eggs for you, and you don't have to worry about your temperature and humidity dropping because the incubator stays closed. Lastly, allowing water chambers to be filled from the outside is not a make it or break it deal, but it is convenient. Incubators have water channels within to create the humidity necessary. To refill those channels, some incubators require you to open them up. If they have ports on the outside that connect to these water channels, you can fill them from the outside, yet again, leaving the lid on and the incubator temperature undisturbed. For my incubator, the ports are just small holes on either side, so I use a turkey baster to insert additional water when necessary. Oh, and when I said the incubator allowed for multiple poultry types, sometimes they use the term racks, which are what hold the eggs. For my incubator, it came with the standard chicken egg rack, which will accommodate some duck and turkey eggs. They also make racks you can purchase separately to accommodate quail or pheasant eggs, or on the larger side, goose eggs. Most incubators will list their capacity by egg type. Jeff, you used a cabinet-style incubator, correct?
Yeah, we had a cabinet incubator, and when you go from the small incubators to a cabinet incubators, it's like going from a jalopy to a Porsche. Once you've had a cabinet incubator, it's hard to go back down to a white styrofoam. They are so useful, where we just cranked out the call duck eggs and the chicken eggs. There was years that thing ran 24/7 the whole year. Another great thing about the cabinet incubator is the volume of eggs that you can stick in there. You can put in about 270 chicken eggs. If you have the quail, almost 1,300 eggs you can stick in there of quail eggs. Whereas if you have a large size, you're looking about 36, 45 large eggs, like of the goose, peafowl, emu. It all depends on the size of the egg. Now, when you have a cabinet incubator, there is cabinet incubator, and then there's a cabinet hatcher, or there's where it's part of both. What I had was where it was 3 shelves of racks that had the eggs, and then on the bottom is where you have the hatcher. That's where you put them in at the end for them to hatch. Pro tip, don't fill up all the racks at the same time to put them all in the bottom. There's not room. When you have a cabinet incubator, you don't want to fill up all 3 shelves full of eggs at the same time, because you're putting in one whole shelf in that bottom hatcher section. If you run all 3 together, you don't have the room, and you need that bottom shelf for the eggs to hatch.
So even though a cabinet incubator can hold a capacity of, say, 270 chicken hatching eggs, the space that you have for one rack is the space you'll have for one hatcher. So the dimensions of that rack essentially will slide down in the incubator, and that's the same size you have for a hatcher. So really, you can only hatch one rack at a time to give them sufficient space to hatch out of the egg, right?
Mm-hmm. We did 1 row a week. Every Sunday, we filled a row. And so then they're hatching down below.
So I guess that is one advantage to a cabinet-style incubator, and how those larger operations stay running 24/7, essentially, is they're staggering the hatch rates.
That's what Meyer Hatchery does.
Yeah, exactly.
All those incubators, and then the hatchers are only used, they're reused off of each and one of those weeks.
I think the people who use the common incubators that you're used to seeing, like the smaller scale, have a hard time understanding that that is a capability out there that you can use at home. If your cabinet style incubator is not a incubator and hatcher combined, you could still get a higher capacity hatch by taking those 270 eggs, moving them from your incubator on day 18 to a hatcher, and then refilling your incubator for the next hatching period.
Mm-hmm.
So there are options out there depending on what kind of hatching scale you want to fall within. Do you want to hatch 6 eggs, or do you want to hatch 270 eggs every 21 days? Or do you want to only be brooding, a smaller number, so you only hatch out a rack at a time every week? So then you're staggering your brooding phases as well. So there is a lot of flexibility out there in incubator size and type. Now, I had been tossing around the idea of hatching, but it wasn't until a friend of ours offered us some fertile turkey eggs that we decided to go for it. I decided to set my incubator up in my office, and the reasons were 1, to ensure a steady room temperature, and 2, to keep it out of harm's way from the rest of our homestead happenings that occur early spring. Now, I will say I slightly regretted placement of my incubator, and here's why. I really wanted it set up in my office for those 2 reasons. You don't typically want to put it in like your garage or mudroom because the temperature will fluctuate with the doors opening and closing, or it could be in direct sunlight in some of those cases. So I thought my office was a safe space. However, I didn't take into consideration that my house is very old. We live in an old farmhouse and our floors are not level. Actually, sitting in my office chair on wheels, I'll sometimes roll to one side if I position myself just right because of our floors. I didn't think about that when I set my incubator on the table. I got it up and running. I set my eggs. It was time for me to refill my water chambers. I added more water and water started leaking out of the bottom of the incubator. And I thought I had drastically done something wrong, but it was just because my incubator was not level. So just like you put a sugar packet under a diner table, I took some papers and stuck it under my incubator to lift it up, got it level, and then I was fine for the rest of my incubating time frame. So tip, if you live in an old farmhouse like me, make sure your incubator is level. It will save you some chaos in the end. Now, when the eggs arrived, I let them rest for 24 hours. Whether you're having eggs shipped from a hatchery or a friend, you want to let them set for 12 to 24 hours before placing them in your incubator to settle and acclimate to room temperature. During this time, it's also a good idea to test your incubator. If it's been in storage this winter, pull it out and dust it off. Or if you purchased a brand new incubator, get that baby unboxed and set it up. You'll want to look it over to make sure your insulation is intact, wires are in place, and so forth. If it's new to you, be sure to read the manufacturer's guide to educate yourself on all of its functions. Now you want to plug it in and let it run. You do this to ensure it can run for 24 hours and maintain its temperature and humidity. This is a good test prior to setting eggs to ensure you've dug out all the pieces and it's functioning properly.
For incubators with a fan called forced air incubators, you will keep your temperature at 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. For incubators without a fan called still air incubators, you want to shoot for 100, 101 degrees Fahrenheit.
Now, when you set your eggs, people usually follow one of 2 ways. You let your incubator get to room temperature, then place the eggs, or set your eggs and bring your incubator up to temperature with them. Personally, I don't have a preference. Do you, Jeff?
Personally, I like to put eggs in the incubator, then run up the temperature.
That's actually the most popular opinion. There's a lot of people that think that's the more natural way to do it.
To be honest, I never researched any of that because we just did it.
Yeah, I was neurotic and I Googled all of these things to see how to do it.
When I did it, Google did not exist.
Like I said in the last episode, experience really is the best teacher. So just give it a try. You'll find your way.
Yep.
Once your eggs are set, cross your fingers and prepare to hover. I looked in at the eggs about 46 times and we were only on day 3. Guess what they looked like? Eggs. Want to have your incubation questions answered by us, the host of the Coop? Join our exclusive Facebook group, Inside the Coop. This group is specifically for our podcast listeners, so we can keep the conversation going off air. Connect with your community and let's meet inside the Coop today. Find the link below in our show notes. Next up is candling. Our first time candling, we had no idea what we were looking for. Yes, we understood we were looking for development, but what is good versus bad? Developing well, not developing. Luckily, I didn't realize our incubator came with a candler, so I purchased an additional one which came with a great visual guide that showed what the egg would look like throughout each day of the incubation period. We candled our eggs on day 7 and day 14. At day 7, you're looking for what I would call a small spider. You can see a red spot with blood vessels expanding from the center. On day 14, there should be significantly more of the developing chick, and you may even see some movement.
Candling eggs can be a very different experience depending on the type of egg you're incubating. For instance, white, light brown, and blue eggs are easy to candle and see through, whereas dark brown, olive eggs, or eggs with speckles can be a little harder to identify the blood vessels at the first candling. There are some eggs, like quail eggs, for instance, that people don't bother candling at all due to the difficulty of seeing any development. However, if you don't have a candler, you can always create your own with a small flashlight.
That's a good tip for teachers to consider if you're incubating eggs as part of your class curriculum and want to highlight the development. Choose lighter color hatching eggs for the best demonstration. And actually, I was just looking at the Brency Ovasculp. It's a candler that completely blocks out ambient light, but also slightly magnifies the view so you can see development a little better. The coolest part is that you can fit it with a webcam, so if you are teaching a class, you can easily project the view so the class can experience it as a whole.
When you're candling at day 7, if you don't see any development, you can remove them from the incubator. They were likely not fertile, or the embryo died very early. If you candle and see a red ring, there was an embryo, but at some point has died. These eggs can be removed as well. If you candle an egg and it's hard to see blood vessels, leave it in the incubator. Sometimes these can take up to 10 days to see. If you ever have a broken or leaking egg, remove them from the incubator immediately, as it could contaminate the rest of your eggs.
It's also important to candle the eggs in a timely fashion. You don't want to leave the eggs out of the incubator for more than 5 to 10 minutes. When I candled my eggs, I pulled them out one at a time, replacing the lid each time to maintain temperature and humidity. When you candle again at 14 days, if the egg is still visible throughout, you can remove it. Again, the embryo takes up a portion of the egg at this point, so you should see a dark area within the egg that you cannot see through, and the air sac floating at the top.
Now, on day 18, you'll prepare your incubator for what a lot of people call lockdown. Humidity for the first 18 days should stay in the range of 45 to 55%. However, when you reach day 18, you want to increase the humidity to 65 to 70%.
Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you are using a digital incubator, it's nice because most of these are programmable to keep temperature. They also provide a digital reading as to what the humidity is to help you monitor it. If you're ever concerned that this reading may be off, you can purchase an additional thermometer to monitor your temperature or hydrometer to monitor your humidity. When it's time to increase your humidity, most times you'll fill an additional water channel. More water surface equals greater humidity, but sometimes that's not enough. If you're having a hard time hitting 70% humidity, you can always wet a sponge and add it to the bed of your incubator.
You should expect the humidity to fluctuate. During the winter months, you'll find that the humidity is more difficult to maintain, and in the summer, you may struggle to keep the humidity low enough. Follow your incubator manufacturer's directions on how best to maintain humidity. Generally, you add humidity by increasing the surface area of the water reservoir, and you lower humidity by allowing more fresh air intake. So if your incubator has ports at the top, you remove the covers to allow more air.
Another really important item to note on day 18 is that you're turning off your turner and removing it. I'm part of a few chicken-related Facebook groups, and it kills me to see the photos people post of chicks hatching out of eggs still in the turner. You remove the turner from the incubator and lay the eggs on their sides. The chicks will naturally position themselves for hatching. Once the chicks begin to hatch, they'll thrash around, so giving them a level area to hatch is healthiest. Chicks can get stuck in the turner and injure themselves if it's still in place. Using my incubator as an example, it has water channels at the bottom, a mesh platform, then the turner sits on top of that. So when I remove my turner, I lay the eggs down on that mesh platform. Now, Jeff, if they're using a cabinet incubator with a hatcher, how does moving them to the hatcher work?
Now, with our incubator that we'd take out the rack of eggs, we'd pull out that basket on the bottom of the incubator, we'd fill that up with the eggs, put it all back in. And then came the exciting part we were waiting for them to hatch.
Now, this is the most painstaking part, watching chicks hatch. The chicks will create small pips in the shell. It's a tiny crack, and you may see the eggs slightly rock back and forth. Hatching takes a lot of energy, so it can be an extremely slow process. It usually takes 5 to 7 hours, but can take up to 24 hours to fully hatch out of an egg. Do not assist the chicks. This is so critical. It can be so tempting to want to open up that incubator and help them out, but doing so can kill your remaining chicks and cause injury to the one you're trying to assist. At this stage, when you open the incubator, cold air will rush in and create a vacuum effect on any eggs that have a pip, essentially suffocating the hatchlings. Also, prematurely pulling the shell off the chick can break blood vessels, causing excessive and potentially fatal bleeding.
Chicks can live up to 72 hours in the incubator as the other chicks hatch. It's said that it can be encouraging to the hatchlings to hear the other peeps of the hatched chicks. So if you reach day 21 and not all the eggs have pip, don't despair. Give the eggs until day 23, then candle unhatched eggs to see if they're still alive before you discard them.
Before transferring your chicks to the brooder, make sure they are fully dry and fluffy. You should have your brooder set up and ready the day they begin hatching. Make sure your brooder is up to temperature at 98 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. This is where you'll also provide food and water, making sure to dip their beaks in the water as you place them. And that's it, a basic overview of hatching chicks for the very first time. We have a great guide to incubating and hatching on our help desk. I'll link below in the show notes for you to reference. Hatching can be a very rewarding experience with proper planning and equipment. Remember to test all equipment before fertile eggs arrive and set up your brooder as the hatch day approaches. Then, enjoy your newest flock members you had the privilege of raising from birth.
Kendra, I'm looking for an incubator that's easy to use, easy to clean, reliable, and cost-effective.
Well, Jeff, you're just in luck because Brinsea Incubators check all the marks.
Brinsea?
Yes, Brinsea, the incubation specialists. They understand the everyday user, whether you're incubating 7 eggs in their mini eco or hundreds in their Ova Easy cabinet-style incubators. Brinsea products are simple, keeping your hatch rates reliable and your experience enjoyable. They offer a wide range of cost-effective solutions, many constructed with their Biomaster antimicrobial plastic for easy cleaning. See the difference and begin with Brinsea today.
Since we've been talking about incubation, we thought it'd take some time to cover a hot topic in regards to our hatching eggs, shipping. We get a lot of questions on how fertilized eggs can be shipped and if they arrive safely. And the answer is yes. We ship the exact same eggs that we use here at Meyer Hatchery. We pack and ship hatching egg orders on Tuesdays. They are shipped by USPS Priority Mail and arrive between Wednesday and Friday directly to your address.
Because of their delicate nature, we always recommend setting more eggs than you intend to hatch and want to discuss the nature of shipping eggs so that you can be better informed. It is also important to note that during extreme cold, we ask that you use your best judgment on deciding to order fertile eggs. We are unable to put a heat pack in the shipping box as it may begin the egg's incubation time.
Packing a box of hatching eggs involves multiple layers of material to ensure the eggs arrive unbroken. First, 2 layers of open cell foam are placed on the bottom of the Priority Mail shipping box. The layers of the foam are the exact fit to the inside box dimensions, so no shifting can occur. Next, a piece of foam with 25 egg-sized cutouts is placed on top. Each hatching egg is then placed individually into one of these cutouts until all the eggs for the order are surrounded in cushiony foam. Then a piece of solid flat foam is placed on top of the eggs. If the order is for more than 25 hatching eggs, then another piece of cutout foam is now added, and the rest of the eggs are set into the cutouts. We can pack a maximum of 50 eggs into a single box. Next, the cylinder foam cutout pieces are placed on top of the solid foam for even more cushioning. The final layer consists of 2 cardboard egg flats to take up any headroom in the box.
One of my favorite aspects of ordering hatching eggs from Meyer Hatchery is that they come stamped so you can identify your breed before setting them. This is super helpful if you are tracking hatching rates or choosing to order an assortment and want to know what breeds to expect. Each egg is stamped with food-grade ink for the safety of your chicks, with the breed key available on our help desk. I'll also link it below in our show notes to help you identify your hatching eggs. On a similar topic of tracking your hatching eggs, over on the Meyer Hatchery blog, we've recently added a link called Free Range Freebies. Since we're doing the March Hatch Along, we've recently released a hatching egg tracker free for you to download. This is a great tool for homesteaders or in the classroom. It allows you to track your breeds, candling activity, and hatch rate. Again, I'll post a link to it below in the show notes if you're interested in using it. If you do use it or are participating in the Hatch Along, let us know by using the hashtag MHHatchalong so we can see.
Kendra, is that 2 incubators behind you?
Oh, that's just some empty boxes.
With eggs in them?
Okay, fine. I'm participating in the Meyer Hatchery Hatch-Along this month. I couldn't just incubate chicken eggs. My turkeys would have felt left out. So I'm currently incubating chicken and turkey eggs.
Kendra, didn't we talk about this last year?
I have room after we install those new nesting boxes, add a wall, and expand the run. It's just a few. And really, it's only the breeds I wanted. It'll be fine.
Are you curious about Kendra's poultry addiction? Follow along with other Meyer Hatchery members during the Hatch Along happening through March. See the various breeds they're hatching, the incubators they choose to use, and get a free hatching egg tracker. Find the link below in the show notes. This week, we don't have a story for our Poultry Pride segment, so be sure to submit your poultry-related story so we can share it with our listeners on the Coop.
We may not have a Poultry Pride segment this week, but we do have an announcement to make. Today, we're announcing the winner for our Launch Day giveaway. As some of you may know, we officially launched the Coop podcast this week on March 2nd. Your support of our new endeavor has been overwhelming. Thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in, subscribing, leaving a review, and participating in our giveaway. We hope you'll stick with us as we have lots of exciting episodes planned. Now, without further ado, congratulations to Jessica Stiflett, who was our Launch Day giveaway winner. This secret word, if you were wondering, was hatching, and Jessica submitted correctly and was randomly chosen to be our Launch Day giveaway winner of a $35 gift certificate to Meyer Hatchery. Now, if you want to participate in giveaways like this in the future, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and join our exclusive Facebook group so you don't miss out.
Thank you for listening to the Coop. Be sure to subscribe, and if you'd be so kind, drop us a review.
Happy hatching! See you all next week.